Hello, my lovely. We know that we did not get to this next level shit in business because we did things the neurotypical way. We're wired differently and we are not designed for anything that's one size fits all. And that is why I come here weekly to share life and business stories and weekly takeaways from my personal experiences and my clients, unscripted, because we're born disruptors and that means we are made for entrepreneurship. And we know that entrepreneurship is multifaceted, and so are the topics we discuss here. Now, this week I have a little something special. I am doing an interview. I rarely do interviews, but there is a distinct purpose behind this interview, and it is about delegation so that you can stop running around like a chicken with your fucking head cut off every day behind the scenes of your business and do the things that you actually love to do most, which is your client work. So, that is this week's topic, from one ADHD entrepreneur diagnosed later in life to another. So turn up the volume to an 11 and get ready to see yourself in these stories. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneur. My name is Karrie. I am your host and the chief weirdo of Karrie Out Loud. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you found the podcast, especially today. We have a big treat coming in hot. So if you love this episode, and if you love what you learned here today, please leave a 5-star review and a comment and let me know what you loved, because when you do that, it helps other ADHD women in business find this podcast. And those are women who are just like you. So today, we are talking about delegation. And I brought my virtual assistant, my VA, my back-end maven, Brooke Norlin, is here with me today. And we are going to talk about delegation and why, as people with ADHD, we might resist it, and a few other things that you are going to want to know about delegation and what it can do for your business moving forward. So, Brooke, introduce yourself and say hi to the people.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Brooke. I'm a virtual assistant and community builder. I'm creator of the Deep Pocket VA Club. I'm really excited to be here because I also work with Karrie behind the scenes, and we know firsthand some of the struggles we have as ADHD women, organizing, delegating, and all of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad you agreed to do this, because I think that when people see other business owners being honest about the fact that we're not doing every single solitary thing, it gives a lot. Like, I remember for me, I was such a sigh of relief when I realized that some of the business mentors and women that I knew, who I'm like, they are just crushing it. What the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why is this not? Why am I'm behind? And a lot of that was before my diagnosis as well. But then I realized, oh, they have an assistant. Like, it didn't occur to me, right? Because you don't know what you don't know, right? So let's talk about, first of all, why do you think that delegation is so important? Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, I think delegation is important for several reasons, but one of the biggest ones is you're able to show up in your business in very special ways as yourself in certain places, but you're not necessarily needed to do like the little things behind the scenes or the little things like that. But those things behind the scenes suck and drain your energy dry and take up your time. And then you're not able to show up in those places that you are incredible at and needed for as well.
Yeah. Completely agree. So instead of trying to feel like somebody behind the scenes spinning 20 plates on 20 sticks, and you're constantly having to move around and keep spinning, oh, that one's about to fall, I better go catch it. This is just what happens. And sometimes that can lead to you dropping the ball. And that is something you do not want to do in your business. You want to have that reputation of being there for your clients, not dropping the ball. And delegation, and then of course we will also talk a little about automation. Delegation and automation are two of the things that can really help you do that. And it doesn't have to cost thousands upon thousands of dollars a month to do that. It's actually a little bit easier than us stubborn ass ADHDers think, who we think we have to just do it all. And in reality, I jokingly say this all the time. If you think Oprah's answering her emails, you're a fool, right? So if you think Oprah's doing her social media, or Martha Stewart, or any of these other like high level people, if you think they're doing all those things, like think again. They have consultants, they have people on their back end, assistants, consultants doing all types of things for them. So if you are really truly running a business and want to be the CEO of the business and lean into doing the thing you do the best, at some point you are going to have to give over some control, because a lot of it is about a control thing and our perfectionism that comes up, and imposter syndrome. Oh shit, somebody's going to see the behind the scenes of my business. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I'm afraid of judgment. These are all things that will come up for us in delegation. Nobody can do it as well as I do. All of the bullshit things we think. But when we find the right partner and we find the right partnership, like I've found in Brooke, it does not feel like that at all. And I actually, before we go a little bit further, want to tell this story because I think this is key to my own thing. I gave away all of my back end systems to everybody for a really long time because I didn't know what I was doing. So instead of learning all of the systems and things I needed to do, I delegated everything to a bunch of different service providers. And then I got my ADHD diagnosis. Why did I delegate before? Because I thought I didn't know jack shit. I didn't think I knew anything. So then I undelegated everything and decided to take on every area of my business to learn it. And then once I was there, I knew exactly what I wanted to outsource and exactly what I wanted to keep in-house for myself. And it was so much easier to hand it over to Brooke, because I know if Brooke goes on vacation, if anything happens, I can run certain elements of my business on the back end if need be. And I no longer have that fear. So turning over control, turning over certain elements of my business became a lot easier once I felt like I understood and knew the systems. So it was very easy to delegate things to somebody like Brooke, especially another ADHD person, but her specialty, like her hyper focus, is this back end organization. It's what she does well. So one of the things she has available is called the VA for a day. But I want to get into why you do that. So share a little bit about your VA a day offer and what you see happening when you do that service in particular, and then people turn around and hire you.
I think, like you said, one of the biggest things for us is, well, a few things. We don't really know what we need help with. And also
Yes.
we're kind of embarrassed to ask for it because we've got a mess. So what happens a lot of times is people end up my DMs are like, I need a virtual assistant. Like they know in their heart that they need some help,
Yeah.
but they don't know what to ask for.
Mhm.
And they're not sure that they want it full time yet. They want to kind of, so what I've created is something called a VA for a day. And you basically get access to me for a whole day and we tackle a project. And typically that project is something that has been holding you back for a while.
Mhm.
It's usually that thing you keep pushing to the back of your list because either you're not fully understanding how to get it done, or you just, as ADHD brains are, or as they do, avoiding it because it's just the last thing you really want to do. And so we tackle that project that day and we get that done. And what I see happen every single time is, first and foremost, relief. Just so much relief. And then them being able to move forward and decide what's best for them from there. Like, is this the thing I needed to get me rolling and moving forward in my business again and I'm good to go? Or was that so amazing that I know I need that in my life every single day?
Mhm.
And then it's time to hire a virtual assistant. But it's that product that I can offer to you that gives you some clarity in what it
Yes.
is you need in your business. So
Yeah, and one of the things we contend with is ADHD freeze. And not everybody knows that it's a thing, but it is. And what it looks like is you are taking in a lot of information at once, and then you go to execute something and you freeze. The reason that happens is because when we have too much information for something, sometimes we go into freeze mode because we don't know where to start. We don't know what that first step is, or we don't understand a system, or we don't understand how to make something happen because we are newer to different type of systems that we've never done before. What's great about this offer is that Brooke can show you that it can be more simple when somebody who truly knows what the fuck they're doing has these projects in their hands to collaborate with you on, because you're still going to get full approval of everything that goes out, of everything that is created. So it's not like you are surrendering over your business, but it does take some trust. I understand that it does take some trust in the person. Um, so what do you think are the top 2 or 3 things that you see holding people back in their business when you do that VA for a day, that leads them to coming to you and realizing how delegation and handing it over to somebody who knows what they're doing, who can get it done in a fraction of the time? What are some of the things that they bring to you? Like, give me some recent examples of what you've helped people with in your VA for a day.
Sure. I think the number one thing is usually an email list, and it's
Mhm.
growing that email list or offering a freebie for that email list. A lot of people know already that that's an email list is a place that you can sell more.
Mhm.
It's a better place to sell your product. Once you have people warm on that email list, it's definitely a really great place to sell product. But they don't know how to grow it or what to
Yes.
do to get it growing. So
Right.
often I come in and I help them create a free offer, and then I set up all of the email marketing behind that. So it's not just creating the freebie, it's also creating all the marketing emails right behind that that'll go out and setting up that system for them. And then usually what happens after that is we go through how we're going to nurture those people beyond that. We set up templates for their emails. We talk about making a plan for the next several weeks for what they're going to be emailing, and how to structure those emails so that they're going to be able to create a better um, communication between them and their clients. So
Mhm.
that's probably the number one thing I see, and it's holding people back because they're not sure how to use the technology. And
Right.
that's the other part about it. I teach them how to do it. So I set
Yes.
it up and then I show them how it's done, and so they're like, "Oh, okay, I got this now,"
Yes.
which is great.
Yes. And
Another
go ahead.
no, you go.
No, you go. What she's talking about too is called a funnel, but I fucking hate that word really badly. I don't think people are like, gas oil that you pour in your car, you put a funnel in there. But it's like your client road, your client, people call it client journey, but it's getting people to become aware of who you are first, get them into your email where you have just more direct contact with them, where you can create a relationship with your newsletter crew. And that, I have a friend who put an offer out on Instagram and crickets, and then she sent it to her email list, and I shit you not, made like $28,000 that day. So that is the power of having that email list, is the fact that you also own it. Nobody can take that away from you. And I also know people who they just do social media for fun because their email list is so robust that that's where their ideal clients live. So that is the power of having someone like Brooke with a solid lead magnet or something to get people into your world, because it's not to trick anyone or manipulate anyone. When people get into an email list, they know what they're doing, but that means they want into your world in some capacity. And that's where it all starts. It's just that initial meeting and getting to know them. So that's an awesome one. What else do you
Yeah.
see?
The other thing kind of varies depending on what kind of business they have, but it's usually some sort of tech issue behind the scenes
Mhm.
where maybe they've got their store set up, but they don't know how to connect their store to their email,
Right.
or their website malfunctioning in some direction. I'll be very clear, I'm not a web developer, but I can help with a lot of the tech behind the scenes once a website is developed.
Mhm.
So there's usually something that's techie that's not clicking, that's not working, and they're not doing something because that tech isn't working. And
Right.
once we get that tech working, they're like, oh my gosh, I can actually run my business now. And I feel like I can,
Yes.
they could before, but it's the one thing that just makes them
Yeah.
feel like they can move forward.
Right. Right. To kind of like get them unstuck. And if you could tell the people a little bit about how you got into loving tech in the first place. I love this story about when you were
Oh,
little.
yeah. So I'm of the generation where we grew up without any internet whatsoever. But when it came, I got to be a part of it just being this wave of and crazy things that you got to learn first. You got to be touched first. And I found myself really, really interested in learning how it all worked.
Mm.
I mean, I remember sitting down, like I'd call my friend across the street and be like, "Hey, I'm going to email you. Will you go sit by your computer so we can email each other?" Like seriously, that's I was so interested in how this all worked. So
Yeah.
we'd email back and forth from our parents' email address on our computers.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but what I really, really loved was as things started to develop into like people creating these like just wild websites. They had no purpose whatsoever. But if anyone remembers, there was like Angel Fire and GeoCities, and you could go out there and you had to learn to code. And I thought that was the coolest thing on the planet. So I'm HTMLing, and
How old
learn
were
all that
you?
stuff. I don't know, like 12
Oh
maybe.
my gosh.
So
When we
somewhere around
know
there.
our passions, we know our passions. Yeah, that's one thing about us.
Yeah. So like I just found myself really drawn to the technology in the first place. And then as social media started to become a thing, I was interested in how all of that functioned too. And then
Hmm.
how that married into businesses and being an introvert myself, wanting to run a business from my house. Like it all just came together and my interest in that technology still is here today. Like I want to figure it out. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to figure it out.
Hmm.
And I hyper focus on that baby until I get it.
It's awesome. It's true.
Mhm.
I can speak to that from personal experience working with Brooke. So I'm going to transition slightly to what's called ROI. Some of you probably absolutely know this term. Some of you are like, what the fuck is that? ROI is your return on investment. The investment that you make into your business, what is it going to bring to you? What is the return that you get in your business for making that investment? And so we're going to talk specifically, because that's the topic is delegation, of the ROI for delegation to somebody like Brooke. So,
Mhm.
what are the things that you see the biggest return of investment is with your clients? I know you don't name your clients because you work behind the scenes and do some social media. So, I know you keep
Right.
your client list private, but what type of return on investment do you see for them? And what do they get back? What do they end up feeling? And how does that move their business forward?
Yeah, well, for every person, I think it can be a little different, but for the most part, overall, the return on investment is going to be time, and time
Mm.
is money. Time
Hmm.
is the most precious resource that we have. But when you look at that and what it actually equates for people in their business, for instance, I have one client who does a lot of events where she takes all of her product and
Hmm.
goes to vendor events and she spends all week getting ready for that event. She spends all weekend selling at that event and then comes home and starts all over again.
Oh my
The
goodness.
time that she spends on that, there's no time for anything else. But she
Hmm.
realizes that there is a lot of needs behind the scenes. She's got a website that needs to function. She has an email list she needs to nurture. So she's able to just dedicate her time to where she needs to be. And
Hmm.
then any free time that she has, she's not stressing out about that stuff behind the scenes because before she was sitting there getting ready for the next vendor event, knowing full well she hasn't talked to her email list in a month and
Hmm.
feeling guilty and
Hmm.
feeling ashamed and then not being able to go sit on Netflix and watch the new movie she wants to watch.
Right.
So now she gets just take that time for herself and trust that it's being taken care of. And all we have to do between her and I is meet for an hour once a month, and she knows the rest of it's taken care of and she's good to go. So
That's
that,
amazing.
yeah. And like I said, for every single person, the thing that they gain back is different because what you want to spend your time on is different, but you gain that freedom of your time. And I don't think there is a resource that is more valuable than that.
No, because money is a renewable resource, but time is finite. And there are things that we do in our businesses that are our areas of where we excel, the thing we are meant to be doing, the calling that we are meant to be doing. But what we didn't realize, perhaps early in, were all the hats we would be wearing to create our business as a solopreneur, first of all, and bootstrapping it in the beginning. And then as you get a little bit deeper in, you're like, I cannot wear all these hats. I cannot keep all these plates spinning. Something's going to give. And unfortunately, people go to the point of where something gives before they finally go, oh, fuck, I really need some help. So when you get to a certain point in your business, start taking it as a preemptive strike because your return on investment is time back. And not only is it time back, that is time back for one of two things: to scale. so you have more time to do the piece that you do the best, the thing, the time with your clients, etc. Or rest.
Mhm.
Rest is part of your business plan. It must be part of your business plan. I know some people who want to go hard, who want to, run every day, all day, 365 days a year, and that's great and everything. But the problem is at some point you will crash. You will. And I know this from personal experience. I know this from seeing it happen to others. So, especially with ADHD, we get overwhelmed a little bit more quickly sometimes, depending on stimulus that's around us. So, there are so many reasons why that time is important. The time is important for scaling, and you have to slow down to speed up. You really do. And one of the things I talk to my clients about all the time is simplify, simplify, simplify. We overcomplicate so many things and put out all these different things and all these different offers, and it can feel so confusing to us. You think if it's confusing to us, it's not confusing to the people who are trying to find out what our services are. But when you're clear and your time is money and your time is worth a certain amount and you're doing something that you are not knowledgeable of and you're taking 3 hours to do it when Brooke can do it in 15 minutes. And I'm not joking. There are things that you'll be sitting there trying to figure out and going to YouTube and researching and all this stuff where you could hand it to someone like Brooke who's like, oh yeah, got you. Oh, it's already done. What? What? And I will tell you, I will be very clear. I know $1 million business owners who had no back-end systems for a couple of years, who did not have an email system for a few years, right? But there is a point where you go, okay, like I can't keep doing all this, especially if you're interacting with clients, if you're on social media, if you're in the DMs, things like that, and you want to maintain those things, you have to hand over something.
Mhm.
What other return on investments do you see from your clients when it comes to
Um,
delegating and hiring you?
they're definitely able to, like you said, show up in their business in bigger ways. And um, I think about specific clients when I'm doing um, emails behind the scenes, or if I'm working on their website for them, then I see them showing up in their stories more often. I see them showing up on social media more often. I see them um, more freely doing those things and not doing it in a way that feels so I have to, more as I get to. And
Mm,
the change in like just the way that they show up is often very visible as well.
that's it. It's true. I live that as well with you. I definitely show up better and more consistently, even though our goal as ADHD people is persistence over consistence. But we tend to be more consistent when things are going really well and things have a system that works with our brain. One of the great things about Brooke is she has a brain like ours, right? So finding somebody who's maybe spicy like you, who understands how your brain works. I mean, that's what I talk about all the time. Like, I know you've heard me say this shit over and over and over again. But when our brains do not have that brain fog, or our brain plate is not so full, we can't see everything on it, that is when we do our best work.
Mhm.
Or that is when we do our best rest. Or that is when we come up with new ideas, right? Some of the
Right.
things that Rick has taken off my plate has allowed me to come up with new ideas and new strategies in my business because I have the time to sit and think about that shit. I have the time to interact with something like ChatGPT to help me kind of flesh that out and make those ideas that are ready to come to fruition even better, because I know I can hand certain parts of it to Brooke and she's going to just make it smooth as butter. And the reality is that when you have systems set up, you do make money in your sleep. And I know that sounds funny because it's like people say, "Oh, you make money in your sleep." There's two ways that can be taken. You make money in your sleep and you're not working. Okay, that's bullshit. We're all working, right? But you have certain systems in place that are sending things and doing things in an automated way that's leading clients to find out who you are and if they want to work with you, and you are sleeping. It is literally working for you, right? And doing heavy lifting. But I think we think as ADHDers, since we've had to work 10 times harder our entire life for everything, we think that's how we grow. And the truth is, that's bullshit. Those are old stories based on when we didn't know we had ADHD. Now we do. Now we can learn our ADHD and get the support we need from somebody like Brooke. And it makes a difference. That is how you grow. If you are sitting and hitting up against a certain amount of revenue every month and you can't get past it, hire a Brooke. Hell, hire Brooke. Because what happens is that clears up that space. And then you will push past that revenue barrier because now you have time to get creative and figure out other ways or systems you want to put in and implement so that you can grow and impact more people. Because as ADHD humans, a lot of us, the main purpose of our business is to impact others. We want to have an impact on the world, impact on other people's lives. We're known to want to do that. It makes us natural entrepreneurs, right? So it is so key to being able to grow your business. Let's have one more example, if you have one, of a return on investment that you had from a client that you're just excited about.
Yeah. So I think you touched on too the systems and stuff like that. And that really brought up for me, a lot of times the people I work with don't know that there are things that are behind the scenes that they could implement either for free or for a pretty low dollar value to make things work more smoothly for them.
Yes.
Systems that'll automate things from your sales all the way to your DMs. Like there's a plethora of things in between. And they're like, I've been doing it this way. And they don't even recognize that it's an issue. Because you said we work harder and have worked harder our entire lives to get things done. So if we think that things just have to be hard in order for them to function, a lot of times we don't see that there's an easier way to do it. And so clients will come to me and they'll be like, I'll ask them a question. Why don't you use this? Well, I don't know. This is the way I've always done it. So if we can come in and we'd be like, well, this would make things so much easier for you. You don't have to write you don't have to have a spreadsheet of all your clients. We can put that into a system for you and it will work. And a lot of times that is such a weight lifted too.
Yeah. Client management system, that is a very important thing to have. And another thing, like you were talking about automation, I'll bring this one up, ManyChat, which you may have heard of, you may not. But when you see somebody comment, DM me the word ready, right? That type of thing. So here are the two different scenarios. Let's say you have a reel and you say, comment ready for a freebie that you have. Let's say you don't have a system set up. 100 people comment ready. What do? Copy, paste the link, copy, paste the link, copy, paste it. How long does that fucking take you, right? Time is money. Our time is precious. It is finite. We cannot get it back. Do you want to spend that copying and pasting a link? Or do you want to set up ManyChat one time, set up a workflow that takes, I have one set up. So now all I have to do is just copy it and change the messaging and that's it. But what Brooke can do is set up a ManyChat. So if you have a reel that has 100 comments on it saying ready, 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 you are not replying to all of those. ManyChat's doing it for you, and it is a third-party service that is approved through Instagram. So now you've gotten all the time back of those 100 people, and they're sent into your email list or they're sent into a workflow. Maybe those emails were emails you were sending personally. How much time do you think you're going to get back in just that alone? Just that one change alone is spectacularly large when it comes to getting time back.
And I would say more than time in that one too would be if people are having to go to your link in bio to actually look for the offer that you have in that reel, they're probably lost them.
Right.
But having that system in place, you're going to also increase your sales and the potential for sales.
Yes. I'll give an example. I was watching a training. This woman has this really incredible way of utilizing Instagram as a funnel as opposed to just using it to create content. And almost every piece of content she has, you comment something and ManyChat takes them into a email nurture sequence. She said that her conversion rate is 20 to 30%. That's fucking unbelievable. So if you have a program that's grab and go, it's something somebody could grab right now. You could create a workflow to where they comment the word, the DM gets sent to them with the link to that program and they purchase it right then. You think that us ADHD people are going to remember to go back tomorrow? No. But we are going to, if you push something like, click this button now, you know, you are more likely to click it. So what is it going to do? It's going to increase your sales. That's increasing your revenue. That is a return on your investment as well. Time, money, scaling without having to feel that overload and feel like you're spinning all of these plates. What you're doing instead is responding to interested people. You're responding to people who are interested in what you do and bringing them into your world to see if they want to work with you in a different capacity, or that you've served them in that offer and they got exactly what they needed and they got it on the spot instead of waiting. Time is money and time is finite. So that's just a little taste of something you could do that you may not have known is available to you. Now you may have all of these systems in place, but you can have somebody like Brooke come in and look at those systems and see where you're leaking time, leaking energy, leaking money, not getting the sales and the conversion you want to have, and maybe how to tweak that in order to speak even more deeply to the person that you are meant to work with. So let's curve one more time to delegation resistance. We talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but as ADHD humans, we tend to, my joke is, don't tell me what to do and also help me. Right? I mean, how
Yes.
many times have we been like, oh gosh, don't tell me what to do, but also I need your help. It's like walking into a store and somebody's like, can I help you? And we're like, no. And then we walk a couple minutes more and we're like, excuse me, can you get this for me in an extra large? Okay, we did need her help. We did. But at first, our automatic thing was, nope, don't need your help. I think that we react that way a lot too as ADHD people. Like, I don't need your help. Oh, but wait, actually, I need an extra large. You know, we do. But I think, what do you think are some of the things? I know some from my end, but being on your end of things, what are some of the things you see resistance wise? Like, what are some of the things that create that resistance, do you think?
This is mine. Don't touch it. And I get that a lot. It's I've built this thing. It's mine. Only I know how it works. Only I can do it the way it needs to be done. Don't touch it. So a lot of times I'll hit that resistance where people are like, they'll give me a little piece of something, but they won't let me have the whole thing because they kind of just like, but really I'm not saving them any time. It's actually probably costing us more time because I'm having to go back and forth between them and figure out the information I need because I only have a part of the puzzle that I need to do my best work. Right. And usually we can work through that and it gets to the point where it works. But I think the big thing for people is, especially ADHD women, is we've worked really hard for what we have. Yes. And we don't want it to be different. We want it to stay as great as we've created it. And we don't want someone else coming in and changing it. Yes. And that's not what I do. It's your business. It is 100% up to you always. I'm just here to help you. And I think, like you said, we always come back like, well, can I have an extra large? That's such a good point. Because usually what happens is exactly that. I'll help with a little bit of something, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, that's great. Here, I need more extra larges." And then we get to the point where we feel a little more comfortable. But I do think that's another point with that VA for a day too, where you can work with someone on one project and kind of get a feel and understand if that's something you're comfortable with, to give up a little bit of that control.
Yes. Yes, I remember the very first time I hired a VA was to do something very specific. And I had it so narrow for her. She had like no room to move. Once I realized how much I could trust her, I was like, oh, you just write it. I'll read it over. Like it went from being like, this is my baby and this is exactly how I want it done to, I ain't got no time for that bullshit. Can you just throw that shit together and I'll look it over and make sure? I'm sure it went out with typos. I'm sure I couldn't have cared any less at that point. It was a different time, but just still funny because it speaks to exactly what you're talking about. I gave her literally one little tiny square of something that was an entire chocolate bar. And finally, I'm like, just fucking eat the chocolate. Here, it's yours. I don't want it. I love chocolate, but I'm just saying, this is yours. This is your piece of chocolate. So, any other things that you see in that resistance, especially with ADHD humans? Ugh.
Yeah. Well, I think too, the other thing is, and this is the way I've always done it. I don't really want it to be different. And not that
Mhm.
it's not that they don't see the value in
Yes.
it being different. It's just this is what they've created and this is how it's got them there. I've
Mhm.
bootstrapped it, like you say all the time, to this point, and letting go of a lot of that pressure, oddly, is hard.
Yes.
I don't want to let go of how hard I've worked. I feel like that's some sort of like, maybe it's a badge of honor that we carry, or it's just what we know. And
Yeah.
to let it go, I don't think we're always understanding what that looks like. And
Right.
it doesn't feel normal to us, quote unquote. So just kind of changing the way things are to make things easier is usually another point of resistance that I see.
Yes. Well, I mean, think about it. We listened to the same song for 6 months, like like, let's be real about the things we eat the same meal sometimes for a year, a breakfast. And then we're like, this is my favorite breakfast ever. And then we're like, "Puh, I hate this breakfast. It's horrible." And we have a new it's that kind of thing, right? It's like we really need to understand that it's okay to allow for change, to
Mhm.
scale, to grow. If you want to get to those higher income months or you want to take your business in a particular trajectory, you're going to have to let people pry shit out of your cold, dead hands.
Mhm.
It's like, you won't get this out of my cold, dead hands. And then they're like, here you go. I was at that point. I've been in both seats. I definitely was like, I'm not giving up anything, even though I wanted to do a newsletter forever. I mean, I just kept skipping it and skipping it and skipping it and skipping it. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Maybe I should just hand this over. So when I did hand it over, I was like, this is exactly how I would have done. And then, like I said earlier, it was like, just take it. So eventually, when you get to that place and that feeling with a person you can trust, who's a member of your team, they're on your side. They're on your team and they're not trying to take anything from you. They're trying to show you, like I did earlier with the responses to the reels, that sitting there and responding to 100 people and probably missing some, not getting it right away. We have work we're doing. We're not going to be able to get to everything right then. That will change your revenue. So if you truly want the growth, there are things you're going to have to let go of and lean into things that are newer. But somebody like Brooke can help you do that transition in a way where you're like, oh my God, why was I resisting this? Like, why did I make myself have that torture for so long? Well, it's because all of our lives, again, we've thought, I have to work so hard and earn every little thing. And no, you do have to work and take action, but those systems are allowed to support you. You're allowed to have the support that works with your brain instead of against it. And I think
Yeah,
that that is a huge deal. What do you think, Brooke?
absolutely. And I think to that point too, sometimes we can get so protective of that back end because we're kind of embarrassed about
Yes.
what it looks like and we don't
Yes.
want anyone else to see it.
Mhm.
And it functions for us, but we don't want even having to explain how it works to somebody else sounds tiring. But
Yes.
having a brain that kind of that functions in an ADHD capacity,
Sure.
I understand that. And I know that your system, it works well for you and it might not make sense to everybody else, but I can guarantee you that working with someone who has an ADHD brain is going to make it easier to
Yes.
adapt those systems behind the
Yeah.
scenes. And you don't have to be embarrassed. I've seen it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's just like what I tell my clients is like, let me look at your systems and see what's missing or, whatever. And I often say, I get it. I was you. I was duct taped behind the scenes. I was band-aids and patches and just, manually doing things that are so easily automated. It's stupid, but not realizing that was even a thing or that the cost was not prohibitive or and you may be at a point where cost is not the issue, it's that control. And so, I can definitely speak to that being the case. And so, Brooke is nailing it here. And she does so many different things, but your main things are social media and tech and systems, right? Is that your
Right.
main
Yep.
cup of tea? Yeah.
Yes.
What do you
And I
love
love
doing most in your business? Your favorite thing that you do for your clients?
I love that I don't do the same thing for anybody. I think, and that seems like a cop-out answer, but it is an
No.
ADHD person. That's literally what I love the most is this client is so different from this client, is so different from this client, and I help them all with different things. Yes, there's overlap, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
I like that my day's never the same. I
Mm-hmm.
like when someone brings me a new challenge, and I like, um, I like most in my business when I can see somebody's business doing better because they were able to delegate some of that time and refocus themselves where it mattered.
Yeah, get past that roadblock that they've been sitting there for a year or
Yeah.
2 or 3. Like, I know somebody's listening to this right now they're nodding their head going, "Oh yeah, that's me." So this
Yeah.
is not, something that plagues everybody, but it
Right.
definitely is something we do not want to give things away. But I think the point of this episode here is really to just allow you to understand that when you have the right people who are ready to look at your systems, who've seen it all, who are not here to judge, they're here to help. Once you really get that through your, brain matter, your business can grow exponentially in ways that you may not even have realized you're missing out on. And that's the real return on investment, is getting to head even more deeply into your vision and where it is you want to go and take your business. And Brooke can help to do that. So, is there anything any last thought you want to, I jokingly call everyone the people, you want to leave the people with? Any last nugget?
The humans nugget. I think just if you feel a tug right now saying, I need help, listen to that and find someone who fits the bill for what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Karrie's talking about me, and I work with Karrie and I work with ADHD women, and that's great, but there are so many virtual assistants out there, and I love that there's a variety because there's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And so look for the person who speaks to you, reach out to them, set up a discovery call. Most of us will do those for free, so you can just talk things out, get a feel for things. And then just don't be afraid to ask if you're uncomfortable with hiring them full time for a little thing. Can we do a little thing together? And just do it, because I think you're going to find that you're going to find a lot of relief in asking for a little bit of help. And once you've done that one time, you're going to realize the value of it, and you're going to be able to understand where your business is going is going to be so much greater when you have help and support behind you that you really can trust.
Yes. And that can also help let the revenue dam open.
Yes.
Because if your revenue is dammed up at a certain level, it's because of capacity, oftentimes, what you have the capacity to take on. And when you're getting rid of things that are just not things you need to be doing on a day-to-day business, and you're able to really focus on the people and have that red carpet service, it really makes a difference. And it really helps boost your reputation as well, because your people know they're not just buying something and then it's like, okay, I'm going to ghost you, bye. Like, they actually get a response. And when people reply to my emails, it's me. It's me on the other end right now, and I like that. But see, that's by choice. Not everybody wants that. And maybe later down the road, I might have Brooke do some of those things. I don't know where that will go. But as I am scaling myself and really letting go of some more of the control, because it's still, Brooke does a lot for me. And it's like, well, I'll be like, do I give this one to Brooke or do I do this one? Like, I'm still do those things. So understand that it just takes time, and really having that person that you trust. Don't you think, Brooke?
I agree. You couldn't have said it better.
Don't some VAs have VAs?
Oh, heck yeah. Heck
So
yeah.
fun. Yeah, yeah. So it's like doctors having doctors, lawyers having lawyers, dentists having dentists, right? Coaches have
We're all
coaches.
scaling and growing over here. That's what we want. That's what we all want for each other. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of beautiful. We can kind of
It is.
you know.
And you work with women in small business owners who are women, right? Who's your main?
Yeah.
Who's your
Yeah.
main?
I do have one man client and he's fine. No, just kidding. He's great.
He's I. He's
You
I.
know, but yeah, I do specialize in working with women and small business owners, and that can mean a small business online or brick and mortar down the street too. So
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you were willing to come and have this chat with me today so that we could talk to our people and from both perspectives and say,
yeah.
I've said I've delegated and you're like, she delegates to me or people delegate to me. So it gives both points of view, especially since I work with online business, mentors, coaches, and online service providers. We are the ones who need her the most. So I will put all of her contact information in the show notes if you have any questions for her. What's your Instagram handle, Brooke?
Brooke.Norlin.
Norlin, and it's Brooke with an E, Brooke. And do you have a website, or do you have a package of list of your services I can put into the show notes?
I have BrookeNorlin.com. And as a virtual assistant, let me just preface this. Sometimes our stuff gets made, it's last. So I'm working on everybody else's stuff. So do as I say, not as I do. But there's a lot of stuff out there that you can look at. Instagram's probably the best place.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Brooke.Norlin. And like I said, I'll put everything into the show notes for us so that you can reach her if you have any questions. And with that, I'm going to end today's episode. If you love this episode, please subscribe to the podcast, give it a 5-star review, tell a friend, drop it into the DMs of a friend, drop in my DMs and tell me what you got out of this episode. I'm a connection queen in community, and your feedback are always welcome. I'm open for that here. And thank you for being here today, Brooke. I really, really appreciate your time. And you're welcome. And until next time, I see you. I love you. I'm fucking rooting for you unapologetically always. And I will see you next week. Bye. Oh, hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the ways to follow me. And of course, my goal is to find and help as many women with ADHD get away from the 9-to-5 grind, because it's just not designed for our neurospicy brilliance, and there are other ways to do life. So by subscribing, sharing, and giving a 5-star review, it helps other women find this podcast as well. And if there's an episode you really love, please feel free to take a screenshot and share it on your social and tag me in it so that I can thank you personally. Until next time, you spicy brained unicorn. Bye.